Good evening and welcome to the Writer's Block. I'm your host, John Ronan, and as you know now, because we are in our 30th season, I talk to writers and sometimes other brands of artists about their craft, what they're working on, what they've accomplished in the past, what they're planning for the future. It's a wide net. At times we have had on sculptors, we've had on musicians, we've had on actors. So if you have an idea for a guest who might be good for the Writer's Block, watch for our address at the end of the show. We'd be glad to get your suggestions. I also want to point out that this original production, the Writer's Block, and all the other material that comes out of 1623 Studios is a product of cable access television. You don't get that valuable civic Cape Ann service by getting television from Dish. Don't be tempted. You stick with us. Another brief announcement, which you've noticed already, this is not the usual studio. We don't have a drape in the background. The Writer's Block is not written across that drape because we are the first Writer's Block show to be taped in our new facility in downtown Gloucester on Pleasant Street. Watch this location because you'll be able to see us taping at different times and other shows. So with that, I want to say tonight we do have two actors. They are distinguished, experienced, talented people who have been involved in Boston and North Shore and Gloucester, Cape Ann theater for many years. I promised Linda I wouldn't emphasize the many, but for a number of years. And we're very happy to have them on this evening. They are Lynda Robinson, who is on my immediate left, and Michael McNamara at the other end of the table. And I've invited them both to reappear on the Writer's Block because of some work they did last fall here in Gloucester, and because they are vital to the activity of theater here on Cape Ann. Welcome to the Writer's Block.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming down.
The space is amazing.
It is nice. It's fun. It's clean, bright.
And new.
And brand new, yes. Pleasant Street. I don't know if I said Pleasant Street.
Yeah.
Right. I did.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
I feel honored to be the
It's
first
our first
people.
show from this location,
That's great.
directed by Becky Tober.
All right,
And
Becky.
So we're flying here.
Yeah.
Now, last fall, I want to mention that to begin with, this last fall, the work that you were involved in here in Gloucester at the Rogers Street Theater was a play. I'm not going to mention the name, I'm not going to mention the author. I'll let you go from there. Tell us about, would you begin, Michael? You were a producer as well as an actor in the play. Tell us how that began.
How did it actually begin? Well, my son and his inamorata were looking for a play to do. And we ran into some other kids that had just graduated from the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, a family friend. And so this young lady and her boyfriend, we ran into the parents, our friends, one night, and I told them that Max and Cassie, my Max and his girlfriend, were interested in doing a play. Maybe we should all get together and try to find something. And you know, when my wife heard that, she had them all lined up for breakfast the next day or 2 days later. And so everybody became interested, and they just went out and found the play. And they found a play for 5 actors. And Max cast the parts. He just gave me a part, and he said, "You're playing Philip." And
So
my son.
You began with the idea. You were the initial producer. You just
Right.
didn't come in with writing $500,000 checks.
No.
Like a Hollywood
No,
producer.
no.
It was your idea, and you got the family together.
I got the
and
family.
then I know that you were the producer, therefore, and your son cast you. And you when did you make the decision to get Lynda Robinson to direct?
Not right away, but before we ever did a rehearsal. I think we did a read-through, and we knew that we had to have a director. And having worked with Lynda and knowing what a steady hand she is, we asked her, and we were so happy that she accepted. And we went from there. And then it was, I have to say, these kids, it wasn't community theater. It was so professional, and they knew their lines. They had a lot of lines, and it was just. They were totally in character right from the beginning. They just got better and better and better. And they really blew my mind. They raised the standards, and I felt like I had to deliver. I couldn't rely on anything, any old,
Any old Michael.
any old stick, stick.
Let me get Lynda in here. Now, how did you hear from Michael about this opportunity, and were you familiar with the play, or in fact mentioned the play?
I don't know if it was an email or a phone call, and they said, "Do you want to direct this play?" And first of all, Teresa Rebeck, who is playwright, it was written by a woman, and I'm trying to.
Teresa Rebeck is an active American playwright.
Yes.
She's
From Boston.
Yeah,
50s,
she's a local.
She's been
person
writing
who's
for
now,
some time.
Yeah, and she's done a lot of TV directing. She's quite an extraordinary person. And I've worked with Michael, and I know Max, his son, and I've always loved working with him.
Mention the name of the play again and how you pronounce
It's
it.
called Mauritius, and it's Mauritius, which is a country in the
Indian Ocean.
and it is the country that created the first postage stamps. And the play, this is going to sound crazy, is about postage stamps. And you think, oh, wow, a play about stamps.
Stamp.
Philately.
Philately.
So, but it's so much more than that. It's a play about relations and power and what people want and need and greed. So I knew the two of you, and I said, "Oh, yeah, please."
Were you
I
familiar
would
with
be honored.
Were you familiar with the play already?
No.
Were
No,
you,
I wasn't.
Michael?
I was not familiar with it. I'd never heard of it. But Max was really high on it, and it had it had a success in Boston in about 2007. It opened on Broadway in 2011 or 12 with a really all-star cast, and so
that was wonderful too. That it had sort of been created in Boston.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
And
Now
had
I want
first performances
I've got
there.
another round of questions. I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do as a director? What's the first thing you do when you have your first rehearsal?
Nothing. I just listen. I tell the actors, let's go, and I just listen to. I know Michael. I know a lot of his stuff.
oh my God. Exposed.
But I didn't know three of the people, so I just listen and take it in.
Listen to them read the play.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do first. I just take it all in. I want to hear them. I want to hear at that point, the way they see the character, because, and I usually say at a first reading, don't worry about acting. It's way too early for that. Let's just read it. But you can't as an actor. You just can't. You still start creating character. So I learn about the play. I learn about the actors who are going to be doing the play.
Uh-huh.
And then we start rehearsing.
How long did rehearsal go? How much time did you have?
2.5 weeks, something like that.
2.5 weeks, fairly quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the actors didn't show up until very late in the process. He was hit and miss because he's a caterer in New York City, and they have to make money. They have to make a living, and there's no money in the theater around here. And although they did get a stipend, but it was a difficult rehearsal process. But we had a bunch of scenes. I think everybody was in 3 scenes, or Max and Cassie may have been in every scene, just about every scene. And but they lived together. So 2 people living together, rehearsing, no longer working. They both worked at the Market restaurant this summer. Work was over. October 15th. So they had 2 weeks to do this play. Now, in their spare time, they had been doing it anyway because they had a lot of dialogue. They were in a lot of, they had a lot of acting together. So their acting got so deep. And the other couple, the same thing. They lived together, and their acting, they were just, and the other two kids, Lily Narbonne and Justin Jenner, are from, they're graduates of ACT, which is like the premier acting school in America. You get a Master's of Fine Arts. It's, it's a very celebrated place, much better known than the American Conservatory Theater in Cambridge, and so. They,
Go ahead, yeah.
And we just start out with what I call table reading.
Right.
Literally, we would sit at a table like
Right.
this and just read
Right.
before we would get up on our feet and just break down the play. Who are these people? What do they want?
Where
what are their-
have they been when they walk on in this scene?
Yeah, what scenes are not written in the play?
Exactly.
What scenes had to have happened in order for this sequence
Right.
here to make sense? The interesting thing about these kids and their work ethic, to me, was in contrast to amateur theater. A lot of times in amateur theater, you get your part, you learn your part, you get up, and the director starts moving you around. There's never any table talk.
Yeah.
So there was so much table talk. These kids, the ones that were classically trained, both of them have MFAs, and both of them were graduates of the conservatory at Boston University. So they've been in it. They're in this, trying to make this as a,
That's interesting, the table reading.
yeah.
Yes.
You did table reading, even though you didn't have much time. You had 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
you think the
absolutely.
table reading is so important. You wanted to do that
Absolutely.
no matter what.
Absolutely.
Have you-
we
do
we
you-
would stop, we would read a short paragraph and stop and talk about it for
What does that
45
mean?
minutes.
What does it say about the
Do you do that
relationship?
What's
always when you're
underneath this?
direct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless
Well,
of
we
how
were
much
lucky
time
we
you got.
had enough time and
They were
really
such hard
good
workers.
actors to be
Such
able to
hard
do
workers.
that.
Who was the person who came up late from New York? Which of the characters?
Oh, they're
Justin
character
Jenner,
names.
who played Sterling.
Yeah. And
He was a handsome ballet dancer.
yeah, in
Yeah.
real life. he's
In
a-
real life. He had been. It was quite, he put on quite a show. He was very entertaining.
It's nice. It's wonderful to see acting. That character,
Yeah.
Sterling, is quite a nasty person.
Yes.
And
Very
then you see
flamboyant.
somebody after the show and they're laughing.
They're this
It's so
really nice
sweet.
guy.
But
And he-
although go
And
ahead.
his style too, he will be as the character, this very nice listening kind of person, contemplating, and then in a second, in your face.
Yeah.
Which was
I-
always shocked the audience. It was great.
I think if I met Joe Pesci after Goodfellas, I wouldn't want to talk to him.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that was all acting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
talk to him.
yeah.
Now I want to get some nuts and bolts questions here.
Yeah.
You had to speak to the Roger Street Theater people.
Right.
Because that's where it was presented,
Right.
right? About a block away from where
About
we're
a block
taping.
away from where we are, yeah.
How did that arrangement work out?
It worked out good. It worked out fine.
That's a beautiful space.
I mean, what's the procedure? Did you?
They're
pay-
working it out. They're under a little bit of duress because they built the theater and they, it was all on speculation. Who's going to rent it? Who's going to fill it up? They didn't ever, I don't think they went around and lined anybody up. And so they're in a tough spot to make money and to just pay the rent. And so I knew that the space was available. I went and I negotiated the time that we were going to put in, and we just went from there.
I know some of the principals I know quite well, and they
Yeah.
said it's much more work than they thought originally.
Yes.
And they were ready to work, and they're working very hard.
Yeah.
But they said it's more difficult. Now, for the director, you have to make up the rehearsal schedule.
Yeah.
And this hour, was that difficult?
Well, the space was available. It was the actors trying to get
actors' schedule.
that scheduling together.
We did a lot of rehearsing
did
at
a
Shorten,
lot.
Maine.
Yeah, we did.
Upstairs at Shorten, Maine.
Does the
Yes,
play?
we're up in Short Maine.
I don't remember well enough. You would know it as the director perfectly. Are there enough scenes where there are only two on stage so that you can direct them, have them a separate rehearsal?
No,
And because
well,
they're
we need a
available
reader.
today.
You know, you need a reader. You can do it with a person who's just standing or sitting, just reading the lines of the person who can't be there. You know, you have to imagine
Right.
that they're there. It affects the blocking, which is the movement.
Explain
show.
to our audience what blocking is.
It's sitting, standing, it's everything physical. And it needs to make sense on two levels. First, for the character, but also for the audience. How do I stand so that I can be seen by most of the house? So you're always working on these two tracks simultaneously.
You're always cheating out. You're always cheating this way because you want to be
where
seen.
Can I cheat?
Where's my light? Some actors, they go right for it.
Yeah.
Not you. Not you.
They want to be seen.
I mean, it's great for two actors
Right,
to have
yeah.
an argument like this,
Right.
but you know, what's happening to the audience, all they're seeing is my hair and the side of your face.
Yeah.
Some actors always upstage
where do you,
themselves too.
yeah, you cheating
always
out
watch that.
and taking a response to what you just heard. If you and I were talking and it was going on for a long time, that I could have a response this way to get back to the house, to the audience. So it's. I always find that the most fascinating thing is that it is this
But
absolute sharing of creativity and talent with pure pragmatics.
I know when you see announcers on television, they're constantly staring right at you. You feel part of the action, and it's easy to forget they're just staring at a piece of glass, or a glass lens. You know, they're not looking at you. But that's so important to draw people in.
Yeah, it is. I mean, every element of it is. What are they wearing? You know, what are we using for furniture? And when you're doing a play that is not supported by an actual theater that would have money and would have sets in the back room
And the lights.
you need to find a way to bring all of those elements in without paying for them. Really.
Right.
Do you find for amateur performances, do you have them sign that a contract that says they will willingly wear their own clothes as costume, and they will take care of their own makeup and that kind of thing?
Well, we didn't, but it was understood.
It was understood. No
It's
contract.
so ad hoc, John.
Understood.
It's so these small productions is so ad hoc and so just spur of the moment that you'd have to be a community theater in business for 50 years to get a document together like that.
Yeah.
People just
Well,
donating
I've been
their
involved in a couple of things in New York. It's just standard.
in New York City, in New York City, I'm sure that's true, but not around here. I've never had that happen.
Well, we don't have a lot of equity theater, Actors Equity, which is the
Yeah.
union for theater, except for Gloucester Stage. But we were able to work with the two New York actors through what's through a special contract that allows equity actors to do a project that is not all equity. It's got an actor's project code.
Project code.
So we were lucky that we were able to do that.
You were able to give the actors a stipend, so something,
Yeah.
subway money or something.
Well, it was. They just worked so hard. They were so good. They were just so good. They were. I was reluctant to do it. I'm 73, so I kind of felt like I was a little bit dragged into it. But I have to say, looking back, it was just a great experience, and I'm so glad I did it because it's something I really love. And working with these young people and all their vitality and their commitment, they're on the way. They're just beginning, and they've got all this hope. And it's a business hope can only take you so
But
far.
I must say though, Michael, I've known Michael, we've known each other for 30 years probably at
that's
least,
right,
and worked on a lot of projects over the
35
decades.
years.
But your work in this play was sublime. It was just some of the best work.
No,
Maybe
not
the best
often
work.
called sublime.
The best work
Thank you very much.
that,
That's very sweet
that
of you.
I've seen you do.
It's very sweet.
Well, you played an older shop owner. So there's
Completely against character.
age appropriate.
Handsome young man like me playing an old guy is just that's amazing.
We all make sacrifices.
We do, yeah.
We all make sacrifices.
It was just a lot of fun. It was. We just had a ball. The kids are like, they're just filled with it.
What's I want to ask you the same question, both of you. What's in the next year or two for you, Michael, in terms of theater on Cape Ann?
Honestly, John, I don't know. A project has to come up and pique my interest, but I am interested again. You know, we did a play 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, Port Authority. We did it at the UU Church. That was a Conor McPherson play. And, you know, when you're producing and you're paying for everything and you're the person that's printing up the programs and you're doing this and that, I mean, it's a lot. And this was a lot better because the kids took the ball.
Yeah.
They did. We'll get a poster done. We'll get the program done. We'll get the money. You know, remember the thing full of money. They put that all together, and they just did all the things that normally a producer has to do. So
you're not out looking for.
No, I'm not out
You're
looking.
waiting if somebody comes and begs you to be involved.
Yeah. I've got ideas, but I don't know. You got to find people that are willing to do them. And when you when you go and you do a show like we did, that you feel so good about, and you're so proud of the work. It's hard to go back. It's hard to say, well, I don't care if the actors know their lines. You do care if the actors know their lines. But, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, that if it isn't second nature to you, it doesn't work. The audience never suspends disbelief. If an actor is totally comfortable and completely in mastering the dialogue, then the audience just loves it. Because they know he or she is going to entertain me. It's
They
when
can
they
relax. They're just excited.
I want to ask you the same question, Lynda. What's in the next year or two for you in terms of theater, here or in Boston?
Playwriting. You know, I don't know if we talked about this before, but 10-minute plays have become just the rage of the country.
You've been active in the Gloucester Writers Center.
From the beginning, with the very, very first 10-minute play presentation with the Boston Playwrights Theater. Very, very first one. It was brand new in the country. You know, 10-minute plays. What can you do in 10 minutes? You can do a lot in 10 minutes. And the wonderful thing about it is that, you know, you don't just produce one 10-minute play. Nobody's going to go and see a 10-minute show. So it involves a lot of playwrights, a lot of directors, a lot of actors, and it becomes just this event. They're different. They're as different as can be, the 10-minute plays.
So you write and act and direct
I act
these
and direct
in Boston and here.
And here, really, everywhere. They're just, it's introduced theater to so many people, audience and actors.
So adapting to an American brevity of tension
but
span.
it just works. I mean, I'm trying to remember what year now the Boston Theater Marathon is, which is this 10-minute play marathon.
It's been going on for a long time.
It started, you know, in BU, and now they do it in one of the major theaters in town because it's so huge, and it goes on for 10 hours. 10-minute.
50 plays.
Yeah,
50 plays.
5 an hour for
There's a
10
competition
hours,
and you
followed
get
by
selected.
So there's only a couple
party.
minutes between production.
Only a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Hundreds of actors.
But
Hundreds.
I have not been to, we've talked about that
Yeah.
a few times. Another question, related question. What do you see happening in terms of theater on Cape Ann, or more specifically in Gloucester, Lynda,
Well, I'm hoping
next year or two?
I'm hoping that somehow we can save the Roger Street Theater because it's such a great space. I don't know what that will involve, if it's just some fundraising or trying to make sure that there's always a show going on, but it would be
They've been pretty
a
busy.
disaster to lose
This is
that.
the Rogers Street Theater on Rogers Street. It's opposite the.
Below Floating Lotus.
But yes, it's below that.
Yeah.
You're actually walking in their basement facility.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's kind of across the street from.
The bank.
The
Bank Gloucester. Is that
Is
what it's
it?
called, Bank Gloucester? Hold on.
I mean, where you park.
Oh, it's
on
the back of the Empire,
Rogers
the old
Street.
Empire building. It's that parking lot, that big parking lot, right across from the not the building center, but that empty lot where they show movies.
C4.
Yeah, whatever it is,
Whatever it is.
I4C2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Imagine an
foresee too.
empty lot on the Atlantic.
Yeah.
I would
yeah.
love to.
So you think the Ryder Street Theater will continue? Or
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's organization is incredibly important. You gotta. It's going to be a very tough one. Lynda ran the West End Theater for years. You don't want to forget that. She was the artistic director down there for a long time. And that was a battle. And sometimes we're good and sometimes we're bad, but programming is the difficult thing. I mean, you've got, for Roger Street, it's got the Cape Ann Shakespeare Company, and they've got a good little following. They're doing very nice work. And but they can only be in there 3 times a year. So you get 3 times 2 weeks, that's 6 weeks. Who's going to fill the other 46 weeks?
especially in the winter when there's no
Right.
tourist business.
There's no tourist business. That's just locals that are going to these community theaters. Nobody's coming from outside. And,
But you were both willing to participate if people come to you with projects or they say, we want to do this.
Well, I'd
or
love
this."
to do some teaching of 10-minute plays and.
Oh, you're
ten-
teaching at the Writer Center.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of teaching these last few years, teaching playwriting and as well as acting. But, you know, I have experience as a producer because I've been one of the founders of 3 theaters, one in Boston, 2 here. So I think, you know, my big grand hope is that we can all get together as a community and
make
try
the
to
place
figure
fly,
something
but
out.
it's going to have to be a open and transparent.
But you don't see that the Gloucester stage is in competition with the Ryder Street Theater directly because
Absolutely not.
No,
Let me say one thing about
I
Gloucester
think the
Stage.
show could be moved.
I think we could have taken Mauritius to Gloucester Stage.
Absolutely.
But they are a professional theater. Some of the staff may live in Gloucester, but everybody jobs in. None of the actors, I don't believe there's an actor there this year that lived in Gloucester. So it's not a theater of Cape Ann. It's a theater that's located, a professional theater located on Cape Ann.
Right, okay.
This
I just
serves
noticed-
community people.
I
Give
was
it a go,
getting-
Johnny.
Getting very
Give it a go.
rapid, enjoying our conversation. I noticed the clock over there.
All
which
right.
The audience can see we're here. We're almost out of time. I want to thank you, Michael McNamara, and I want to thank you, Lynda Robinson. You're talented, you're energetic. I've seen your work over the years, and I saw it last fall with Mauritius. Wonderful stuff. And I appreciate you coming down here and sharing some of your enthusiasm about theater and keeping theater alive and vibrant,
Yes.
legitimate theater alive and vibrant on Cape Ann.
We're going to try.
Of by and for the people.
I want to thank our TV audience for being here as well. If you've learned something about Cape Ann Theater from Lynda Robinson and Michael McNamara, then the Writer's Block has done its job. Hope to see you again next week on the Writer's Block. Good night.